What's up, guys? We are back with another Bandai Tamashii Nations review, taking a look at a figure that has literally been just like the talk of the town for the majority of the year, right? And I'm only just now getting to him. He's only just now coming out in the States, but I am super excited to be taking a look at the Buzz Lightyear Alpha Suit figure from, of course, you know, the Lightyear film. And I mean, literally, you can't go 5 minutes without seeing somebody talk about this guy, or he's the figure of the year, or it's so much better than I expected it to be. So there's a lot of expectations for this figure. I'm already expecting a whole lot out of this thing, but it does, I mean, at first glance, it does look pretty wild. There definitely is a lot to unpack here. So we've got Buzz here in sort of standard Tamashii Nations Figuarts style packaging. You've got the figure there in the window. You've got a product shot on the front. We've got some shots on the spine, and then the back of the box gives us a bunch of product shots showing how he moves, a bunch of the stuff he comes with, and just a general idea of what we can expect inside. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go. Out of the package, our SH Figuarts Lightyear version of Buzz Lightyear. And I know I'm late on this guy, but, and it feels really weird to say this could very well be one of the best Figuarts ever. And it's certainly one of the better Figuarts that has come out in recent memory. It's just so unique, and a lot of that, I'm sure, is the fact that it's not tied to using existing parts. It's not part of any long-running, humongous line that it has to pull from. It's its own thing, and they were very much able, it seems, to just go all out on this figure, because from an articulation and engineering perspective, this thing's pretty nuts. I mean, he's in a full suit of armor, so at first glance, you'd probably think him to be a little bit hindered in some ways, but he's really not. He is so mobile. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. We've got a head and neck that are both articulated, so the head goes up really far as a result. Down really nicely also. Great tilt side to side. You've even got some head bobble action in there, full rotation, all that good stuff. Arms go out at the shoulder. The shoulder pad will get up and out of your way. You have a slight drop down. You've also got a slight butterfly. And you've got rotation at the bicep, of course. You've got your swivel. We've got rotation at the shoulder. We've got our double jointed elbows with really good range for such, you know, sort of chunky, bulbousy arms. He's got the standard Figuarts ball hinge, so up and down, and then, of course, rotation, but swivel that ball and it'll go pretty much wherever you want. The torso on this figure is really nice, though. So you've got an upper diaphragm cut, so he'll, you know, go in and out and back and forth and side to side, and it's a swivel point. But he goes all the way back about this far, so really good range there, but forward is where it's really doing it. He goes super far forward. You get him a little bit further there. So he goes really far forward, so you've got a ball waist, so he'll swivel all the way around, bobble side to side, backwards, another rotation point, all that good stuff. Legs are not full splits, but, I mean, pretty close. You've got full kick forward. You've got slight kick backward. Well, not even slight, really good kick backwards. You've got a thigh twist up there, of course. We've got our double jointed knees, which go back pretty far. They're not perfect because he's got the sort of flared boot design and, you know, armor down there, but he does go back really far. And then the ankles on Buzz are really exciting as well, in conjunction with how good the torso is, because they drop down. So you've got a drop down ankle to allow for any movement here. Otherwise, you know, he probably would be stuck with his feet going just forward, so you can rock them side to side. You'd have some twist up there too, because it's just a ball peg. And then you've also got your hinge forward and backward. I mean, if you go really far, you can get that whole ankle out of the boot, really. So it's great range all over this figure. I think they just kind of went all out on him. He moves so well. There's really nothing getting in the way of his articulation. The only area where I think he's probably a little bit worse off than some Figuarts is the butterfly joint, and that's just because he's in a suit of armor. So his arm's not really going to go outside of that sort of shell that he's got. But that's a minor nitpick at best. Otherwise, this figure moves almost perfectly. I'm really excited about what they were able to do here. Now, as far as the overall look and feel, the aesthetics, I am really happy with this figure. Of course, being kind of a one-off thing as far as, you know, this line goes, really, he's all unique. There's 100% unique parts here. He's 100% different from every other Figuarts we've ever gotten, so he doesn't share anything. This is all Buzz. And I think for the most part, I mean, they pretty much killed it. There is a lot of paint on this figure too, and, you know, in some cases for Figuarts, depending on the line, paint isn't necessarily a really common element. It doesn't necessarily have to happen. This guy needed a lot of paint because of all these different color accents on the armor, from the purple to the different shades of black and gray to the tampo work, and then of course all of this green. But I'm really just, in general, just digging everything about this. The look, the feel of the figure. He looks tremendous, and it's of course a different interpretation of Buzz. You know, the way that this is styled is that this is the movie that the toy comes from in Toy Story. So we have the toy version as sort of the base of what we've always known. This is what was actually in the film where Andy's toy came from. So, you know, this is obviously a lot more detailed than the toy, but it's still very much Buzz Lightyear. You can look at this and it's obvious. Yeah, that's Buzz. That's the same thing I've known for, I don't know, it's going to make me feel old to say this, like, what, 27 years or whatever since Toy Story came out. But I think he looks great. There's tons of just like little, you know, sort of greebling detail, just enough to make it look like a real worldy kind of suit. Some line work to break up this sculpt. And then, of course, to catch the light and just to make him look a little bit more realistic. I've seen some folks weather this guy up with great effect. I don't think I'm ever going to do that. But it looks tremendous dirty. It also looks great clean as well. So you've got all of this paint work, all of this design work in here, some nice use of metallic on the back there, and just really liking the color scheme. I mean, Buzz's color scheme was pretty iconic, really, right? So that sort of off-white with the green and the purple. It doesn't sound like it should go together, but it absolutely works here. And I'm really happy with the overall sizing. He's going to fit in really nicely. We'll do size comparisons, of course, to other Figuarts and non-Figuarts also. But I think he's going to fit in pretty well in and out of Figuarts. If you want to throw him up with like some Predators or Aliens specifically, or any kind of demon or alien figures that you've got, stuff that isn't necessarily normal 112, he'll look really good throwing down with some bigger monster type of figures. But I love all this little detail. All the paint is really clean, really crisp. Everything. I don't have any issues in terms of, like paint bleeding or fuzzy line work. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. Little hits of sort of real world kind of warning designs. He's got his name on there. Things like that. The little red, blue, green lights that are on the chest plate and the Star Command stuff. I think he looks fantastic. I'm really happy with the overall finished product here. And despite the fact that this head is not exactly the head that I think of when I think of Buzz Lightyear, it's super close. Like, it's obviously based on what the toy was supposed to be in that world. So he looks really good. There's a little bit of shading on this face too, kind of around the cheeks, almost like blush. It's not exactly, just to bring out the cheekbones a little bit more. The eyes are really, really piercing blue, really clean, really crisp. And then you've got just enough sculpt in this hair to make it look not cartoony, I suppose, is the best way to think about it. Although he does have a very CG animation look and feel about him, which I'm not saying in a negative way, but overall, they really killed this. As fun as he is to pose around and move, he looks just as good. And then as far as some size comparisons go, let's start with a couple random Figuarts, really, that are very much not related to Buzz. So we've got, of course, our Buzz in the middle. This is the most recent Mando Figuarts. So we've got him on the left, and then we've got an older Figuarts in the, gold Kyoryuger Super Sentai figure there. And you can get an idea of what he looks like stacked up to a couple very disparate type of Figuarts. So he's kind of right in the middle. I mean, he very much seems to fit a baseline for your average Figuarts, which of course is to say he is going to be a little bit smaller. But like I mentioned, if you want to throw him up against a bunch of, aliens or monsters or things like that, he's probably going to fit in really well there. So let's move these guys aside. And here is a Marvel Legend. So you can get an idea of exactly what he looks like with a Hasbro figure. And you can see he's about a head shorter than Speedball. Let's move Mando aside. And here he is with a Super 7. Well, actually, this is the Mattel Lion-O. So an Ultimate style figure, Motu Classic style figure. And he's huge by comparison. So he's going to fit in with 1/12 stuff for sure in terms of, kind of just being able to fudge him into a display. But he's still going to be a little on the short side in that regard. It's going to come down to how you want to display him, what you want to throw him up against. Because he's a one-off. He's not meant to mix in with really much of anything. He just is Buzz. But if you want to put him with, some larger, monsters or demons or things like that, or, throw him up against like a big, Mythic Legion monster, like Arethyr here, something like that, he's going to look fine going up against bigger, bulkier, evil things than he is alongside, normal Hasbro good guys. Now, as far as accessories goes, Buzz has a lot, and most of it is done up in a way that it attaches to the figure, so it's kind of like a gear loadout. You can add stuff and take stuff away, and you can customize how you want him. Like, I've got all his weaponry on him right here, but you've also got a jetpack and things like that. So to start with, we do get some extra hands. You get 3 extra sets. So we get a set of finger pointing hands. You get a set of style posy, slightly gripping, gestury hands. And then you get a set of trigger finger hands. And of course that complements the fists that he has on him in the box. Now we do get an extra head sculpt. And of course this is the one with like the thing over his head, whatever that's supposed to be called, the wrap that sits over top of his head where he's actually in the suit. And it's a neck and a head. So when you take the whole thing off, you get a neck with it. So the neck is a separate piece, but it's swappable also. So you've got your slightly smirking head with no sort of wrap or helmet thing padding on, and then you've got a more stern head underneath. Now, of course, I've also got the dome for the suit on also, and this piece is achieved by removing pieces on the inside. There's these little doodads here. They pop out, and then you just slide the helmet on. And I think it looks great. It's really, really classic Buzz when you have him like this. It's still very much Lightyear Buzz, but it looks really good. I'm really happy with that. And then we've got his weaponry. And like I said, it's all kind of like a loadout almost. So you get this laser blaster thing first. So it sits on his arm. It just sort of slips over top. One thing I don't like about these is that of all this stuff, he has 2 guns and no energy effects. Like, you get all this stuff and there's no energy effect, but you get this little gauntlet laser. And it looks really good, and it fits on him pretty snugly, too. Like, it's not going anywhere once it's on there. We get this little guy down here. So you pop this piece off, this little panel right here, and you can put a holster, or it's more like a clip than anything else. This will go on his leg to hold his little pistol. Just a kind of a techie, futuristic sort of pistol, black and white. Nothing really remarkable about it, but it does fit very nicely in this little clip that you've got right here. Just sort of slide it down in and it's going to stay just fine. So that's really cool. I do like that. And then we've got on his back, we've got another removable piece back here. We've got this little guy. You pop that off and you've got a spot for his laser sword, whatever they called this thing. And I really like this. This is a cool weapon. So it's got like, an energy blade on one side, and it's this translucent separate piece that connects to the actual painted plastic. So this is really cool. It's got a trigger on it and everything, and it just sort of slides down in there, and it will hang off his back. So you've got weapon storage for almost everything that he has. And, I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of accessories being able to be on the figure. But we've also got the jetpack. So this goes in the same spot. So you can't have the sword holstered and the jetpack on him at any time. But he, of course, can hold it, so you can still store it that way. So you pop that little piece off, put the jetpack on, and this thing looks great. It adds a lot of bulk to him, and it's very Buzz Lightyear, obviously. And then we've got the wings, which are separate pieces on this. You've got to kind of pull them out, and then they will pop in like this. And you can put his wings on, and you can have him, in that flying pose. And he does come with an adapter for Tamashii stands to allow him to be in a flight pose like this. But it doesn't come with the base or the arm, so you need to supply that. Otherwise, though, he has a specialized adapter for it. So, he looks pretty rad like this. I'm really, really happy with it. And again, I love the weaponry they gave this guy. He's got a standard pistol, but he's got the laser gauntlet, or gauntlet laser. He's got the energy sword, laser sword thing, which is just a cool weapon all on its own. But it all very much seems to fit. Like, all of this stuff is themed to his type of armor. This thing very much looks like it belongs with him. And again, I really like the fact that you can have all this stuff on him. He can hold all of his weaponry and have the jetpack on at any given time. You've got this fully decked out, fully loaded Buzz Lightyear that has a couple heads. He's got the dome. He's got all these hands. There's a lot of stuff in this box to change him up in just a ton of different ways. So yeah, overall, I am super, super happy with this figure. Again, I fully understand now why so many people have been saying for a while that this figure was going to be on their top 10 list or was going to be the best figure of the year, because it really is something incredible from Bandai. They did a great job with this thing. It's again, it's really crazy to say, yeah, my favorite Figuarts right now is probably this Buzz Lightyear figure, because it just sounds ridiculous. But when you get this thing in hand, it moves so well. The engineering on him is insane. He looks fantastic. You know, it's a newer interpretation on a classic character, classic Buzz Lightyear, I guess. But he looks fantastic, he moves really well, and he comes with a ton of accessories. The only thing I think we're missing is maybe a small energy effect for these blasters, but otherwise, he has so much stuff. There's a lot of ways to change him up, and this figure is just a lot of fun. So that's going to do it for this look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts Buzz Lightyear. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.